Hello, everyone. I'm Niraj Mathur. I'm co-founder of BlueMind. We're a Canadian fabless semiconductor company, a startup on a mission to build the world's most energy efficient and performant machine learning chips. We're doing this using our unique and patented analog compute architecture and technology that will deliver anywhere between 100 times to 5,000 times better energy efficiency for AI processing. This is clearly a significant challenge for the world, a sustainability challenge that we're hoping to address. We are a VC-backed company looking to add strategic CVCs to our cap table. If I've piqued your curiosity even a little bit, please check out our website at bluemind.ai, BlueMind without an E, or connect on LinkedIn. Now it is truly my honor to introduce the next fireside chat. Very topical subject of preparing for the hybrid future as a result of GenAI with the prolific Andrew Ng, Managing General Partner at AI Fund. And he will be interviewed by Ian Goldstein, who's a partner at Fenwick. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Niraj.
All right.
Yes, so what, do you want to grab a seat?
Yeah, why don't I grab a seat and we'll tee us up.
What we'll do is chat for 5 minutes about some of the things I'm seeing in AI, and then I think Ian and I were going to go into the conversation. But you remember one thing from this presentation, it is, what I hope you remember is, with generative AI being such a disruptive, transformative technology, candidly, I think this is the time for all CVCs to shine. And I want to share with you what I'm seeing some businesses doing and some best practices for CVCs adding tremendous value to enterprises. And with me also is Eva Wang, who's up here in the front row. So I've been saying for a few years that AI is the new electricity. And what I mean by that is one of the difficult things to understand about AI is a general purpose technology, meaning it's not useful for one application like healthcare or financial services or logistics. It's useful for tons of different applications. Kind of like electricity. If I ask you what is electricity good for, it's almost hard to answer that because it's useful for so many different things. And because of that, I'm seeing across many large corporations tremendous uncertainty about business disruption. Well, how will this affect the mothership, as well as how will this affect many of your portfolio companies? I do see many boards and CEOs looking to the CVC arm to bring in insights and make investments that, when the CVC does this well, ends up shaping strategy. I'm seeing a few businesses, not the majority, but I'm definitely seeing some businesses where the CVC arm is actually making decisions that are driving very fundamental board level decisions. And I think this is really the time for all CVCs to step up and be heroes. And I feel like I'm seeing two pillars for GenAI for corporations. First is all knowledge workers can get a boost in productivity by using GenAI pretty much today. I'll say more about this first pillar on the next slide. The second pillar is to gain a more unique competitive advantage. Almost everyone else is using GenAI, but to gain a more unique competitive advantage, there are opportunities for large enterprises to identify and pursue AI projects specific to your business. I'll share some best practices around that as well. So the first pillar, I think today almost all knowledge workers should use GenAI to get a productivity boost. This slide shows a study by some friends at University of Pennsylvania and OpenAI and elsewhere, showing the exposure of AI by job occupation according to salary. Whereas with the last wave of AI, deep learning, predictive AI, supervised learning, it tended to be the lower wage jobs like factory automation that was more exposed to AI. With GenAI, it's the higher wage jobs that are more exposed to AI automation. And I find that if you use GenAI today for brainstorming, basic research, copying, and so on, you can get a productivity boost right away. But one important asterisk is knowledge workers do need a little bit of training to use it safely and effectively. So I think many businesses should do this now, but this is almost table stakes, right? And I think many of us have, Microsoft sales reps chasing us aggressively to sell Copilot. You could use that, use something else. It's all many good tools. Pick the right tool, but this is just getting to be almost table stakes. more exciting for CVCs and for your specific businesses is your ability to identify and pursue AI projects that are meaningful to your business. So my team, Eva and I, in AI Fund, our focus has actually been working with corporate partners to identify and pursue domain-specific AI opportunities. And I'll share with you what we do and some of the best practices we've seen across quite a lot of AI corporations at this point. So we find it's important to have leaders learn a little bit about AI and generative AI. So we often start off with some sort of executive briefing on generative AI technology. And then to not do the same thing as everyone else, we found that businesses can run a systematic process to brainstorm AI projects. And I can guarantee that your internal team, if they learn a little bit about AI, they'll have many ideas. And then also, there's a framework called task-based analysis of jobs that I'll talk a bit about in the next slide that gives a second framework for brainstorming AI project ideas. And after that, if you carry out diligence on what projects are feasible and valuable, and then you can then go into kind of a prioritize, select, and execute on projects and kind of a build versus buy decision. But let me step through some of these steps a little bit more detail. Pull up your phone and scan this QR code, please. One of years ago, I co-founded Coursera. The fastest growing course on Coursera last year was Generative AI for Everyone. And Coursera charges $49 for it, I think, something like that. But when I created this course, one of the things in the back of my mind was I thought if we can help capital allocators learn a little bit about AI and make better capital allocation decisions, then we'll be much better off as a society. So if you scan this QR code, you or your colleagues at your firm, if you'd like free access to this, I think Claudia and Christina will encourage me to put this up. Thank you. Yeah, feel free to put in your email. We'll send you an invite for free access to generative AI for everyone. And I do know quite a few VCs that their entire investment team take this and then use that knowledge to hopefully make better generative AI investment decisions. After learning a bit about generative AI, I've found many teams to be quite effective at brainstorming AI project ideas. And in addition to seeing whatever ideas your team has, and I guarantee there are a lot of ideas, there's one other process I've seen that is a useful systematic way to come up with AI project ideas. And here's the idea. So a lot of discussion about AI automating jobs, but it turns out that a more useful framework to think about opportunities is to think of AI as automating tasks. So jobs are bundles of tasks, and AI actually automates tasks rather than jobs. So what we've done with quite a few businesses is go in and look at your tens or hundreds of thousands of employees and try to figure out what are all these people doing. One example, it turns out a customer service representative does many different tasks. And if you start to list out the tasks that your people are doing, you find that some of them have high AI automation potential and some have low automation potential. And this type of systematic brainstorming process, figure out what people are actually doing, which tasks are amenable to AI automation. This often leads to ideas that can translate into kind of a build versus buy decision. And while this recipe seems like is a recipe for cost savings, let's find some tasks and automate them, much more than you would suspect. This results in a recipe for revenue growth as well. Because when you take a task and make it 1,000 times cheaper, you can either take the cost savings, and that's fine, or you can take that thing and now do 1,000 times of it more, and that more than you would expect turns into a recipe for revenue growth as well. And I want to share with you one quick example of a project that we did. So when we work with partners, we've always had access to a lot of ideas. A few years ago, Mitsui Corporation, one of our LPs, came to us with an idea, and they said, hey, Andrew, you should use AI to make ships more fuel efficient. So instead of a ship captain deciding by gut how to steer their ship, should you steer a ship at 20 knots or 25 knots? Who knows? Mitsui said, hey, Andrew, if you use AI to recommend to a ship captain how to steer, maybe you can get them there safely and on time and to use less fuel. And I want to point out, the reason we work with large corporations is I'm an AI guy. What do I know about global maritime shipping, right? I would never have come up with this idea myself. There's an intersection of our expertise in AI and Mitsui Corporation, which is a major shareholder in a large K-line, large ocean-going kind of a vessel company, that allowed them to come up with this idea. But what we found when a CVC really comes with an idea like this is we usually take about a month to work to validate there's a market and it's technically feasible. And if it passes that, we then recruit a CEO as well as a venture advisor, kind of future board member, CEO and board member, to work with us to build the company. We recruited Dylan Kyle, who is a repeat entrepreneur, one successful exit. And after this, we typically spend 3 months with the CEO and the CVC to do deep customer validation and often build a technical prototype. And if it survives this, we then write $1 million check in, lets the company build an MVP, get real customers, get real traction, and the company then goes on to continue to raise additional rounds of capital and scale. So the outcome of this, of Mitsui bringing to me this idea, was this company now is steering high hundreds of ships on the high seas. For each of the ships is saving about 10% fuel, about $500,000 in fuel costs per ship per year, as well as significant CO2 emissions. And to Mitsui, they benefit from 3 ways. First and most important, this is helping a lot of ships in Mitsui save a lot of fuel and reduce CO2 emissions. So that might be the biggest benefit. Second, the direct investment in this enterprise is appreciating value, so they enjoy the share appreciation value in that. And then finally, their investment in AI fund also means they enjoy the appreciation and value of the AI fund portfolio. And I find this exciting because it's this intersection of AI with business domains that I frankly don't have access to that creates a lot of the most exciting opportunities. This is my last slide. So just to summarize, I think that there is a motion and a process that I'm seeing multiple CVCs execute, some with us, some by themselves, either way is fine, to figure out what are the really meaningful things that are not just, hey, let's everyone buy Microsoft Copilot, but that are more unique to your business and it creates distinctive value and gains a unique business advantage. And so just last week, my whole team was visiting actually another large corporation where the CVC arm had brought us in, and we're doing deep brainstorming of many projects specific to the industry vertical to try to see which ones should be a build versus buy versus spin out kind of decision. And one other lesson I've learned from this is every single time we do this, there will be way more ideas, and guarantee there'll be more ideas than anyone has time or energy to execute, and then the prioritization exercise becomes really interesting and really challenging as well. But with that, I think Ian and I wanted to chat about this, but I hope that this is the moment that CVCs, because the technology is so disruptive, this is the moment I think CVCs can play a huge role in driving all of your mothership's businesses. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Andrew. Look, Andrew is sort of the kind of speaker that we get here who sort of needs no introduction. I think sort of everyone in the room is sort of familiar with his background and really, being one of the leading voices worldwide in terms of how to, think about AI and its application to the world generally, but also to all of you, your companies that you work for, and also thinking about, your particular investment thesis. So with the time we have left, and we could have, I could have just let you just go, right? I've watched your, Coursera courses, and I think they're fascinating, and I think they've helped me think about internally at Fenwick how to actually think about how we use artificial intelligence in sort of the legal realm. But one of the things that I think is interesting that we should dive a little bit deeper on here is just, everyone here in the room has to provide some near-term value to their parent organization, right? The people here are sort of eyes and ears for their companies and thinking about where technology is going, right? There's sort of a long-term aspect of that, but there's also sort of very much a near-term aspect to that. So one of the things that obviously the AI fund does, and that you just sort of described, is sort of help companies like think about that near-term solution and how they can begin to make impact for their parent companies in terms of how AI may sort of impact or disrupt their businesses in meaningful ways. So maybe just sort of touch a little bit upon a couple of examples. Obviously, don't name any companies, but just a couple of examples from different industries in terms of like some of the problem sets that you're solving beyond, shipping, because I think that might, illuminate some creativity in the minds of everyone in the audience.
I see, sure. So because AI is a general purpose technology, the thing that I find most exciting is the adaptation of AI to a specific industry application. And so, for example, in financial services, some of our teams have done a lot of work in fraud, anti-fraud, as well as optimizing the use of AI models to make better underwriting decisions and go through compliance for that. In healthcare, we're actually doing this internationally. There are so many applications of AI, but it takes that work to brainstorm. Do we want to help the primary care physician? Is it about which part of, we actually did this. I don't want to talk about the results, but we figured out of the workflow of a primary care physician, what are the tasks they do, and what are the tasks we can automate to drive the most value quickly. And so we actually have 2 different companies work on different aspects of that. I don't know, industrial manufacturing with tons of work there. We're working with, I don't know, a few kind of like Fortune 500 device makers, and we're seeing a lot of work on edge AI, where we don't just run AI in the cloud, but maybe on your own personal device. Work with some semiconductor makers that are very interested in driving efficiency and then also shaping their products to become, well-positioned for the next generation of AI. Sorry, there are all these projects that are just going on. It's this exciting, very diverse set of projects that we end up having the privilege to support our partners in.
Yeah. So that's just a couple of examples of maybe, I would call them maybe custom build solutions where you sort of partner with a CVC or its parent and help them think through a particular problem set and either build a solution for it or a company around a solution for it. But here
let me add one thing. One thing I often see is companies will brainstorm a lot of projects. We'll often go to a company and say, hey, let's brainstorm 10, 15 ideas. And then it turns out that of 10, 15 ideas, there'll be, I don't know, 5 good ideas, right? But one thing you find, I almost guaranteed this, I've seen this everywhere, your mothership with high interest rates and so on, they'll often say, we want all 5 of these, but guess what? We don't want to pay to develop all 5 in-house, right? It's a very common pattern. And so a very rational move at that point in time is to let someone else pay for the company to get it built so you can enjoy the benefit, but without needing to house it entirely within the mothership. And this is where I see CVCs basically helping the construction of new enterprises play a meaningful role. And then also, because GenAI is so new, there's a build versus buy decision. If a product already exists, go ahead and buy it. No need to build something you don't have to. But the trick is, because GenAI is so new, I'm seeing that a lot of things that the company wants, they kind of just don't exist in the market yet. So there are these very large opportunities to create new and meaningful things to serve you. And if you have a new company do it, then you don't even need to pay for it. You can just enjoy the benefits.
So super helpful. Give some tips to the audience about how they can be thinking about the near-term deployment of capital, right? So everyone here is, most of the people here are investors, right? So besides the decision on building themselves, right, they're making decisions about investing into whether it's sort of AI native companies, right, or companies that actually need to be adapting to an AI environment. So in the near term, like if we're not talking about the big sort of horizontal layers, Nagraj had put it, right, the LLMs and the tooling, right, but the application layer in a sort of rapidly changing environment, some tips on how to actually think about deploying capital in light of just how quickly things are moving.
Yeah, that's a great question. So what I'm seeing is whenever there's a new, I'm going to make a recommendation that may be a little bit different than what you've heard others say, which is whenever there's a new wave of technology, which we have with GenAI, the media and social media, likes to talk about the technology layer. So companies like OpenAI and Anthropic and Google and Azure and so on, and AWS, the companies building the technology. And so it's tempting to put money into that, no problem with that, except high valuations is hyper competitive. But it turns out that for the technology providers to be successful, almost by definition, the applications built on top had better be even more successful because frankly, the applications had better make even more money to be able to afford to pay, OpenAI and NVIDIA and so on. So I think that a lot of the best opportunities for CVCs is not to invest just in the generic technology layer, but to go and find the unique applications that are now possible because of this technology. And the media tends not to talk about these companies as much, which is great because, valuations maybe not as crazy. I think you get better, and there's this, and I think that's where also the CVC adds more value, both to the company, both the company you're investing in as well as to your mothership by making those connections or even building those application layer companies. I think I was chatting with Kathy Wood last Friday, and she mentioned, this is her research, not mine, but I think she has optimistic projections, right? The AI will boost GP growth globally from, what is it, 3% to 7% year on year. She is quite optimistic, but I think a lot of this growth, almost by definition, has got to be at the application layer companies.
Any thoughts on how the CVCs in the room, to the extent they're sitting in boardrooms, either in a director seat or an observer seat, and helping advise their current portfolio companies that may not be AI native companies, right, but actually have to sort of adapt to the change and disruption. Suggestions for how they might guide those companies to make sure that they get ahead of the curve instead of falling behind.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I think that's actually tough. I find that, so I hope all of you will take generative AI for everyone, or encourage your portfolio CEOs to take generative AI for everyone if they aren't AI or digital natives. And it just because, I find that when we work with businesses from different sectors, I need to what I do. I tell my team, our swim lane is AI and nothing else. So we don't even try to be expert in global maritime shipping or financial services or insurance or healthcare or whatever, because I find that keeping on top of AI is a full-time job, right? So we try to do that and rely on our partners' expertise to be the domain experts. And I find that even today, just to be candid, the technical assessment of what AI can and cannot do, is tricky. So we try to do the full-time job of staying on top of AI trends so that when we work with a partner, we could quickly look at the domain and quickly form an opinion on what AI can and cannot do. But unfortunately, it does take, like deep AI technical expertise. But I hope that something like generative AI for everyone, which covers it at a relatively high level, hopefully that will also be helpful to you and your portfolio.
Yeah, so maybe one more question. Just be like, where are we 5 to 10 years from now? Right? Like things are moving really fast, right? You see sort of the growth of generative AI. It feels like it is, in the process of washing over everything. Like looking a little bit further out, what do you see as sort of some of the dramatic changes that this technology or the next technologies will deliver across multiple industries?
Yeah, so it's wildly exciting. We're in the early phases of AI technology. Maybe just to toss out really quickly some technologies to watch out for. My top 3, we've already seen text processing transform because of ChatGPT. I think the image processing revolution is next, not just generation, but analysis. So this affects self-driving cars and factory automation and things like that. Second, we've seen a lot of AI in the cloud. I'm seeing a lot of exciting activity in edge AI, on-device AI, more privacy-preserving, lower latency. Yeah, I actually routinely run a large language model on my laptop, and I think more and more people will do the same over time. And the third one is, I have a contrarian view of what might drive the most AI progress in the next year. This might get me into trouble saying this, but I feel like so much attention is on, we call them scaling laws, but this idea that we spent 10 million a few years ago, now it's like 100 million to train a model. Next will be $1 billion or $10 billion to buy enough NVIDIA or AMD GPUs to train these massive large language models. So that is on some trajectory of progress. It's fine, nothing wrong with that. Happy to let people keep on paying more money to NVIDIA and so on to buy more GPUs to drive progress. That will continue to work. But there's another trajectory of progress I think will be even faster over this next 1 year, which is we call it AI agents, where you take not a model that needs to be massive, but you have it think over a task. But there's this agent workflow, where you have an AI kind of write a draft, think over the draft, go to the internet, do research on the internet, and instead of demanding an AI regurgitate the right answer first shot, I'm going to give an AI, 10 minutes or half an hour to do work for me before it comes back to me with an answer. And I think this is actually going to be a much more capital efficient way to make some of our AI systems much smarter. So we're actually building a lot of applications with this type of AI agent workflow. But the technology is really exciting. And I think today it feels like, with ChatGPT or Bard or Gemini or Claude, it feels like, we can kind of give everyone an intern with AI agentic workflow. I think we're evolving to giving everyone a junior intern to giving everyone a team of skilled specialists in many job roles. So, but again, it'll take us a few years to get there. So technology is progressing rapidly.
All right, fantastic. Join me in thanking Andrew for his insights today.
Thank you. Thank you.